continues on with his talk. She is more righteous than I. He asks that we read Genesis chapter 38. For Genesis chapter 38, we'll call upon our brother Troy. Brother Troy.
The 38th chapter of Genesis. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down with his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite, whose name was Hiram. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bare a son. And he called his name She conceived again and bare a son. And she called his name Onan. And she had again conceived and bare a son, called his name Shelah. And he was a Kezib when she bare him. And Judah took a wife from for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahweh. And Yahweh slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased Yahweh, wherefore he slew him also. Then said Judah to Tamar his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at thy father's house, till Shelah thy son be grown. For he said, Lest peradventure he die also, as his brother did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted, and went up into his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hiram, the Adullamite. It was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. She put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me? He said, I will send thee a kid of the flock. She said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? He said, What pledge shall I give thee? She said, Thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it to her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. She arose, went away, and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he found her not. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where is the harlot that was openly by the way? Judah said, Bring her forth, and let her be burnt. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, By the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, Discern, I pray thee, whose are these? The signet, the bracelets, and staff. And Judah acknowledged him and said, She hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah, my son. And he knew her again no more. It came to pass in the time of her travail, that behold, twins were born in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound on his hand, the scarlet thread, saying, "This came out first." It came to pass as he drew back his hand that behold, his brother came out. And she said, "How hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee." Therefore his name was called Pharez. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand. And his name was called Zerah.
Thank our brother Troy for his readings. I'd like your kind attention now as our brother Dev continues on his talk with class number 2. She is more righteous than I. Brother Dev?
So brothers and sisters, Joseph goes to Shechem, and they're not even in Shechem. They were in Shechem, but they've now moved on in Genesis chapter 37 to the, you might call it the Las Vegas of the area, to the town of Dothan. It was a pretty wicked location, and that's where the boys are. That's where all of Joseph's brothers have gone to. And they see him coming in the distance. It says in verse 19, they said one to another, "Look, this dreamer is coming." The word dreamer is the word master dreamer. Here's this master of dreams. Here he comes. Let's kill him and cast him into some pit. And we'll say, some evil beast hath devoured him. So this is the ecclesia, seeing someone who has come in the distance, sent by the Father to save them, saying, let's kill him and throw him into a pit. Would that not happen with the Lord's Son? Generations after, in the same way. They could see him coming. They knew the impact. They knew who he was. They envied him, and they killed him and threw him into a pit. The sense that his life was taken from him in an absolutely horrendous miscarriage of justice. But the resurrection overturned all of that. Reuben hears and delivers, or tries to deliver him out of their hand. Right? And it says, they, verse 23, stripped Joseph out of his coat. And then God says, because God is the inspirer of these words, the coat of many colors. Didn't we know that? Why do we have to be told these things? Because we might not pay attention. They took off the source of all of their jealousy and envy. They removed the evidence of his primacy over them. They took away from him the signal from their father, this is the one who will become my firstborn. That's what they did. They took it away. This is the one who is the priest of the family. They took that away from him. This is the one whose work of his hand, whose thinking, where he walks with his foot, will be dedicated to the things his father knows he is concerned with. Those things that are related to the truth, the hope, the kingdom, the promises made to Jacob's grandfather and to his father, and reiterated and augmented to him. He knows that this is the one, he's chosen this to be the one, in whose care he will entrust all of that. They strip it off his back, throw it into a pit. An empty pit. There was no water in it. Now, is that to say it used to be a well, but there's no water in it, so it's dry, so it should be okay? No. In this hot land, there is no water in the pit, and they gave him no water to drink. He shrieked in that pit, begging his brothers to deliver him. And they sat down, and they ate bread. while their brother shrieked. Lifted up their eyes, looked, and behold, a traveling company of Ishmaelites, relatives, cousins, extended family members, Ishmaelites. And they came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down into Egypt. And so they're looking at these people and they're going down to Egypt to make money. These are tradesmen who are their relations. And Judah gets an idea. Now Judah was the most articulate of the brothers. He is likely to have been the most intelligent of the brothers. He is likely to have been the one who had the most in the way of leadership skills, contrary to and unlike his brother Reuben. And we know that because in front of Joseph, who speaks? Who represents the family? Judah. Right? At the end of his life, into whose hands does Jacob entrust everything for the arrangements, for that massive journey down into Egypt? Judah. Who is the one who acts as a go-between with Joseph and the family? Judah. Judah was the natural leader of that family. And so Judah would be particularly scalded and wounded by that coat that Jacob made for his family. He asked himself, what was going on in Jacob's mind? Jacob, with most of the men in this room, would be the poster boy for a clueless father and husband. You know who the most shocked member of the family is when it finally becomes clear what the children have been doing? It's never the mom, you know. It's always the dad. She did what? How long has this been going on? And you never told me? How did I not know this? Well, dear, you usually don't know what's going on, because you don't pause to look closely at what's going on. And remember, this was a family skilled in deception and dissimulation. It went back generations. It did. How did Abraham, the man of faith, by the way, the friend of God, pull off two sets of circumstances where he was able to persuade Sarah to lie? How did he pull that off? And be able to represent himself and behave with her as her brother? Because he had a capacity for deception. So we have this circumstance, and look what it says. Judah, verse 26, whose name means praise, the honoring of Yahweh, the suppression of flesh, to the honor of God. Judah says, look, what profit is it if we kill him and hide his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. Let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. His brethren were content. So they decide they're going to make money from their brother. Judah sold his brother for money, so he could make something, so he could get something. Let's at least get something out of this. So the man of praise is a man of the flesh in every way, every shape, every form. And you know, there was a man named Judah from Iscariot who did the same thing one day. Who took the man who God sent to save him and sold him for 30 pieces of silver. We do so many things as brothers and sisters that are contrary to what we ought to do as brothers and sisters. We may bear a name that is associated with praise. We are Christadelphians, brothers and sisters in Christ. A man who was anointed to be king. So we bear the name of a king. And yet we lie, we cheat, we steal, We war and fight. We hold grudges where we should put them away. We fret about things that have more to do with power and influence than they do about honoring and elevating God. We find our minds immersed in all that this world has to offer. I'm describing myself to you, by the way, lest you think this is me pointing at you. This is us. So our name may be one thing, but how we behave is often an entirely different kind of thing, isn't it? And so this brother sells his brother so that he gets something. It's about what he can get. And that was the great hunger that Judah had in his life. He wanted power. He wanted nobility. He wanted to be the prince of the family. He was the one who thought he deserved to be it, because Reuben was ridiculous in his mind. He wanted to be the one. He wanted a great name for himself. He wanted wealth. And with 12 sons, how much would he actually get? So it was all about getting. And so in this particular instance, what profit is about, what can I get? What can we get out of this? You know, we need to get things because we're always in an insecure position. And now we can get something from him, not just get him out, but get something from him. Now that is as far from the mind of a follower of Christ as one can be. And this is the ancestor of the Lord Jesus Christ, who didn't get anything. He gave everything. His getting will be in seeing his seed in the kingdom and in ruling the earth for his Father, in healing mankind in all of its wars, all of its fighting, and bringing a reign of peace, and one day wiping sin out completely, so that God is all and in all. Well, verse 31, they took Joseph's coat and they killed a kid of the goats. Where did that happen before, brother Jacob? When a kid was killed to disguise you. They took a kid and they killed it, dipped it in the blood. They sent the coat of many colors, they brought it to their father and they said, we found this. Do you know whether it's your son's coat or not? Now what kind of stupid thing is that to say? Everybody knew whose coat that was. There was only one coat like that. There was never another coat like that. Of course it's his son's coat. But do you notice what they say? They don't say, is it our brother's coat? They say, is it your son's coat? Your special son? The one? The chosen one? The one you chose over us? When you see the cross currents of emotions that are going on in these stories, they change completely. You'll never read them the same way. Why did they use the words your son instead of our brother? Because Joseph was not theirs, not connected to them. They alienated him. They rejected him. He was despised, rejected. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, with sickness. A man whom they held apart from, pushed away. He couldn't take what he had done. He couldn't take his father's sorrow. He couldn't stand to look his brothers in the face knowing what they'd all done together. He couldn't stand being the one who had led. He led, not Reuben. He led. He couldn't stand that. So he left the ecclesia. Walked away from the truth. He says he went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite. Now the word Adam means the justice of the people. And this was a man who would have felt the way our dad does things and the way things are in our family, it's unjust. Leah is his wife. My mom is his wife. He doesn't even love her. I am the one who should be leading because Reuben can't. Everybody knows that. And look at who he chooses. Look at how he treats Joseph. Injustice. So he's drawn to a man. This man's name means not the justice of God, the justice of the people. And that man's name is Hira. And do you know what that name means? A noble family. What did Judah yearn for? What did he want? Primacy. He wanted to be the nobility within the family of Israel. Not Joseph. Me. And you know, it's a funny thing. Because in that town of Bethlehem, Judah, there's a man named Elimelech. One interpretation of it is God is my king. But the other interpretation of the Hebrew is, unto me shall the kingdom come. And so here's this man. He's attracted to an Adulamite whose name means a noble family. And then Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite. Now you think of the daughters of Heth and the effect they had on his grandmother. They were a continual source of pain and shame to Rebekah. Right? And under cover of that, she convinces Isaac to send her son to live with her brother. So Judah gets the justice of the people. He gets nobility. He bear a son. And he called his name Er. He called his name Er, which means you loved it and trumped it, but you haven't. It's still in you. We know when people meet our children who have left the truth or who have gone away from the ecclesia, but they see something special in them. What is that? It's what comes from the truth. It's a kind of dignity and self-respect. It's a kind of ethical framework that means that there are certain things you will not do. It's not to say that our children don't do shameful things, but the world does see something a little different in them, something in their character. Sometimes, not always. So Judah has run away. He's run away from the ecclesia, run away from the truth, but it's still in him. And it comes out in the naming of his children. Why would you name your first child Watcher unless you felt you had to watch? Keep an eye on and be careful where you were. Why would you take your second son and name him Strong if you did not have the sense that you were not in a strong position? And why would you take your third son and have that child named, appealed for, or petitioned? Not true, it seems. The dad names one of the children, but the mom may name the others, but the mom could not have named the child without Judah's approval. And sometimes people do things without knowing God is moving them to do it. God is moving. Well, there's a family out there in the world. He is in the world. He is raising his children in the world. They are seeing their father as powerful. He's all about money. He's all about his name, his nobility, his reputation in the world. He's all about those things and the justice of the people, because he's the kind of person who is all about justice, since he felt he was so unjustly raised and treated in the family of Jacob. Right? So it says, verse 5, he was at Ketzib when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn. Now tell me something. Why did not the boy go out and find his own wife? Well, it could have been the age of arranged marriages, yes. True, that's true. But it could also be because there's a part of Judah that's still alive, that's still got God festering it up, poking his finger in it, pulling it apart, causing that doubt and pain and discomfort, interfering in the man's life so the truth never dies in him, like it does with your children that are out there and mine, and ours, our lives. There's a part of him that says, I don't want him to marry just anybody. What kind of girl does he find for his son? A girl like his mother. Her name is Tamar. It's a name that's about palm trees, uprightness. Where would you find a girl like that in this town? But he did. That means he was watching. He was watching. He was watching. And he found the right girl. No, she's not in the truth. No, she's not someone who knows the promises. But she was an upright girl. And they are out there. He found this girl for a son who was not at all upright. Not at all upright. It says, verse 7, Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahweh. And Yahweh slew him. Now if you were Judah, and you'd grown up disrespecting your older brother, your big and absolutely incompetent brother Reuben, how would you feel to see how your firstborn child turned out? And every one of us as moms and dads, we blame ourselves for the bad decisions our children make as adults. We do. It's natural for us as parents. Do you think Adam and Eve held Abel, his body in their arms, and blamed Cain? No. Not if they were moms and dads like you and me. They blamed themselves. So when Judah looks at what happens with his child, what kind of thoughts have seeped into his conscience and troubled him? You know, it's all imagination, all imagination. I see an unquiet mind, a brother unhappy at his core, even in this circumstance where he has everything that the world could give you, but still not happy, still torn in his conscience, still unable to get the shrieks of his brother out of his ears, still unable to forget the sobbing of his father Jacob. I see him sometimes getting drunk at night, and I see his daughter-in-law seeing something that is good in him, seeing a terrible fight going on inside of her father-in-law's heart, and feeling a sense of deep compassion for him, while not always understanding what was going on as that war continued in the heart of her father-in-law Judah. I imagine her asking him, tell me about your family. And Judah unbuttoning just a little bit to tell her about how he was raised. Family was in. And maybe hinting at some of the things that the family believed that he doesn't believe anymore. And Tamar, with the intelligence of the women in this family, and she coming in from the outside, was an intelligent woman who was subtle and could read between the lines, drawing out of him more of the things that he believed and what the promises were, and thinking, I want to raise a child with these promises. I want to raise a child in this truth. That's what I want. I want that more than anything else. I want that more than a happy marriage. I want a child. To raise that child in the promises. And so it says, Onan is slain by God, and or Er is slain by God. And then it says, verse 8, Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife. And the Revised Version says, perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her, and raise up seed to thy brother. It's another echo to the story of Ruth, isn't it? Right? Go and have a child with her, and that child will have your brother's name and inherit his property. Now, do you see any signs of grief in Judah? Do you see him tearing his clothing? Does he put on sackcloth? Is there any outpouring of my son? I will never stop mourning for him till I go down to the grave. Not even one tear mentioned. That's how bad Er was. That's how bad he was. And Judah knew, that's my child, and the worst of ways again. And every time the story of Er's life and behavior came back to Judah, Judah's conscience would twist a little more, because God continued to work with him. Look at where you are. Look at what is happening with your children. And you are not happy, Judah. None of the things you wanted and got are making you happy, are they? Well, this child, it says, the second child, Onan. Look at what it says in verse 9. Knew that the seed should not be his. What does that mean? What profit is it if I raise up a child for somebody else? That requires self-sacrifice. That requires love. That requires selflessness. And he wouldn't do it. And so the act that he performed with her is not what he is condemned for. It's that mentality that says, there's no profit for me in this. I'm going to use her and enjoy her and give her nothing. Give my brother nothing. In fact, I'm going to take something from my brother by taking his wife and using her. That's what he did. Judah's second son. So, the thing displeased the Lord, but he slew him also. God killed two of Judah's sons. And he only had 3. Now, things happen in our lives. And it is up to us to interpret what God is doing to us. But we can misinterpret it. And we can take the lesson he's teaching us and make it something other than that. Right? Sometimes we make the mistake of interpreting somebody else's troubles and what that means for them, when we have no right to do any of that. I have to look at my life and ask myself, what is God trying to tell me that I'm too deaf to listen to? Well, Judah is as deaf as Jacob. And it says, verse 11, then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, with all the deceptive, articulate capacity of Judah. Listen, you remain a widow at your father's house. Go to your father's house now. I want you away from here. You wait until Shelah is grown up, and then I'll give him to you. But this is the dissimulation, the play acting, the mask, and what's behind it. For he said, He doesn't say for he thought. It says for he said. He told somebody this. For he said, lest peradventure he also die, like his brethren. Now why would it say that? Who is he blaming for the death of his two boys? Well, there might have been some initial self-blame for their behavior, but he thinks the girl is killing them. There's something wrong with the girl. Something's wrong with her. I thought she was upright. Thought she was a good girl, but she's killed two of my boys. I don't want her to kill the third. There's something wrong with her. He's completely misinterpreted what's happening and blames somebody else. Now, you have trouble in your life. You have trouble with brothers and sisters, relations, your family members, your child, your wife, whatever the case may be. It is an easy thing to blame them for it all, not to learn the lesson that we need to learn, which might be, I've not been doing things the way they should be done. I've not been living my life the way it ought to be done. It's their fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. My grudge that I have, my feeling that I have, my holding on to whatever I have with you or you or you, I deserve to hold on to that because you've done something bad to me. So we're not the first to do that. Judah wasn't the first either. She set off to another home. He intentionally deceives her because he had no intention of giving her Shelah. Ever. Never. Right? And that is brother Judah in a bad, dishonest agreement. Brother Judah. And in process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. Judah was comforted. Went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. Now he goes up to Timnath, but one day a man named Samson would go down to Timnath and see a girl there. And Samson, who was a Nazirite, who was supposed to stay away from anything having to do with grapes, would walk through the vineyards of Timnath. That's what brethren do. You're shocked by these stories? We do all these dumb things. They're not telling you, but it's what we do. We make all these mistakes. So here he is. He goes down. He goes to Timnath to share his sheep. Now, sheep sharing time was a time of busting loose. It was a time of immorality. It was a time of bad behavior with men. Men would go and behave badly at this time. There was drinking, there was feasting, there was carousing. There were all kinds of things that shouldn't be happening. It says, he went with his friend, Hira the Adullamite, probably one of the best influences in his life he ever had. You reckon? So he's down there with Hira the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, your father-in-law goes up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she works out, I'm never getting sheep out. I have no choice. If I want to have a child who is going to be raised by me in the truth, I have to take desperate measures. She's not condemned for it that way. She put her widow's garments off from her, covered her with a veil, wrapped herself, and sat in the gate, an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown up, and it was not given unto her, or she was not given to him to be his wife. She saw he's a grown man now. Judah lied to me, and I'm going to have a child. Now, think of the choices that this girl had. Do you think that she was plain, unattractive? Not likely. So she could have been with other men. in the country she was in if she wanted to be. She could have gone and been with somebody else. She didn't do that. I want to be in this family. I want that hope. I want to raise a child in that hope. It says she went out there, dressed in a particular way. Well, what was she dressed like? She was dressed like a temple prostitute from the pagan religion in the region. Because part of their worship was, well, there would be girls who would work in the temple, who would also function not just as priestesses, but as prostitutes, which would get additional money and which would involve the people who were involved with them in the worship that included that sexual component in these pagan religions. So Judah goes by, and he's got Hira with him, and they see this woman wrapped up as she is. And what does Judah think? That's deceptive religion. That's a harlot who is the representation of a false religion. Is that giving you some echoes to Revelation? I'm saying to myself, I'm staying far away from that. I'm not going anywhere near. I'm not going anywhere near that. But look what happens. Look what it says. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a temple prostitute, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her, by the way, and said, Go, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. And he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. Now, she said, What will you give me, that you may come in unto me? What profit will there be for me? And so here is this man having the same thing done to him that he did to his father and to his brother. What profit is in this for me? He said, I'll send you a kid. Now we can look at this and see these themes and how they cross-tie and cross-connect all the way up and down through Scripture and be in wonder that they didn't see it. My grandmother deceived my grandfather with a kid. I deceived my father with a kid. Now I'm giving somebody a kid that I should have nothing to do with. He was also giving her a kid too, by the way. 2 kids. Right? And so it says, she said, what will you give me up as a pledge? You're going to give me something to hold on to as collateral until you send it. And he said, what pledge shall I give you? And she said, give me your signet ring, and the bracelet on your hand, and the staff that's in your hand. Now think about that. What's a signet ring? What was it? It was a thing that was made, carved out of material. It might be out of stone, it might be out of a precious or semi-precious material. It was harder than clay. It was something that had a symbol on it that represented you. When anybody saw that on a document that was in wax or anything that bound a document, they knew that's Judah. That's Judah. That's the man Judah. I know what he stands for now. I know how he thinks. I know how he thinks. When I see that symbol, I know this is the man in his character, his thinking, what he's all about. That's Judah's mark. It represented you and your authority. The bracelet around your wrist was also something from your working hand, perhaps. Right? Thinking, your hand, your working hand. And it also represented who you were, your power, your ability to do things. Right? And what about your staff? Well, it was carved. And people would know that's Judah's staff. Don't touch it. He's a rough guy to deal with. Right? Because remember, he did have Laban's blood in him, didn't he? Right? So there's this staff which you carried with you and which you kept time with as you walked. The rhythm of your walk and the way you walked would mark that staff. Right? I want to show you something, just very briefly. Leviticus chapter 8. This is the chapter that talks about the formal induction of Aaron and his sons into the priesthood and Aaron into the higher priesthood. All right? Verse 23. He slew it, that is, a ram of consecration, and took of the blood thereof and put it upon the tip of Aaron's right ear. So there's blood that consecrates his whole head, put on his ear, which means the source of your thinking is going to have to involve listening to the Word of God, His principles. Then he puts blood on the tip on one of his thumbs, the thumb of his right hand, the hand of power, the hand of work, and then upon the great toe of his right foot. So what Aaron as high priest is to do now, moving forward, is his thinking and his character and his attitudes are going to be molded by God's truth. The work and the power of his right hand is going to be dedicated to God and doing the right thing. And where he walks is going to be all about where God would want him to walk. What does Tamar ask you? The ancestor of the symbol of your thinking and your reputation, your ability. Give me the symbol of the work of your hands. Give me the symbol of where you walk. And for the lust of the moment, Judah gave her everything. Everything. So, he sleeps with her, goes her way, puts off her veil, reconstitutes herself in the public eye as a widow. And then, Judah gets uncomfortable, gets worried. I need my signet. Right? People are asking me or noticing I don't have it, and I have to lie to explain it. I don't even have my bracelet on my hand. Nobody can see it anymore. Where's my staff? Well, I need to get those things. But I'm not going to embarrass myself and go down there and ask for these things. So Judah is now in a position of authority. And Hira, who is his friend, is now a little bit accountable to him and at his beck and call. It says, Hira went, asked the men of the place, where is the cult prostitute? Where is the temple harlot that was openly here by the wayside? He said, wait a minute, anybody like that here? And Hira says, pardon? And then he goes back home. He turns to Judah and says, look, I can't find him. But the men of the place said, there's never been anybody here like that. And Judah realizes, I am in the worst possible situation. Somebody out there has my signet ring, has my staff, has the bracelet from my hand. Do you know what? There's nothing we can do. Let her take it, lest we be put to shame. For a man who has worked so hard to achieve nobility, to become a dispenser of the justice of the people, and to be somebody who is wealthy, his reputation is everything, because that's the way it is in the world. When your reputation is shot, so are you in this world. And he will not endanger those things he worked so hard to achieve for himself. Now, it's all in danger. So he says, don't drop it, don't say a thing. And then he tries to bring Hira in with him. He says, look, lest we be put to shame. Hira's probably thinking, buddy, it's not me who's going to be put to shame. It's you. You did that. I did nothing. Right? And look, you sent the kid, I sent the kid, you tried to find her, we did. So he's trying to give himself a little bit of a salve to his conscience. I tried to do the right thing. In this weakened circumstance, he's all about, I tried to do the right thing. You know that, don't you, Hira? So that's us, not both, you and me. get ashamed or embarrassed. And then 3 months after, Judah hears his daughter-in-law is pregnant. She deceived me. She's a liar. She dissimulated. I thought she was an upright girl. I did. But look at the kind of woman she is. She's pregnant. The daughter of a priest committed adultery. You know what Judah has just given up? All those things emblematic of the future priest and his current position. And in self-righteous fury, and that's us, isn't it? My head, my heart, my life, loaded with sin, but my brother does something that falls into the category of black and white sin, I'm all over condemning him.